The Battle of Ikirun, 1878, a decisive Ibadan victory. They shattered the coalition's siege, breaking the enemy lines and leaving massive casualties in their wake. It was a bloody battle. Hundreds of coalition troops drowned in the Otin River trying to escape, giving the battle its name Jalumi, meaning drown in the river. By the late 1870s, Imesi Ile had become the stronghold of the Ekiti Parapo and the scene of repeated, brutal battles as the war dragged on. Each clash thundered through the hills, shaking the earth with the ferocity of desperate men fighting for survival. The battles at Igbajo and Iloro turned these border towns into fiery flashpoints between Ibadan and Ekiti forces. Gunfire and cannon blasts tore through the streets as each side fought with a fury that shook the very soil beneath them. Clashes here were frequent as both sides struggled for control of trade and movement corridors. The Battle of Otun Ekiti saw Ibadan forces launching relentless assaults against the town, a proud member of the Parapo alliance. The fighting was savage, wave after wave of bloodshed, destruction of properties, leaving heavy losses on both sides and the fields soaked in sorrow. The Battle of Okamesi saw the Parapo alliance fiercely defend the city, sacred as the birthplace of the Kiriji War. Every street, every hill became a battlefield as warriors fought with the fury of those defending the very soul of their cause. Skirmishes around Okamesi continued throughout the war, especially during the early phase of the resistance. Fierce battles erupted near Oke Emezi and Ipoti, critical lifelines for the Parapo alliance. Determined to strangle enemy supplies, Ibadan forces launched relentless assaults, turning roads and forests into killing fields. In war, cutting off an enemy's supplies is often deadlier than winning a battlefield. It starves resistance at its roots. Conflict raged at Ibere-Ile and Ibode, smaller towns caught in the jaws of war, as both armies fought fiercely to secure territory and fortify their positions. Every captured foothold meant survival. Every loss pushed a side closer to collapse. These battles saw brutal trench warfare, guerrilla tactics, and the deadly roar of imported firearms and cannons, making the Kiriji War not just the longest, but also one of the most technologically advanced indigenous wars in Yoruba history. As the Kiriji War dragged on, Ibadan's once iron grip began to falter. Behind the walls of power, cracks were spreading, slow, silent, but unstoppable. At the heart of it all stood Are Ona Kakanfo Latusa, Ibadan's supreme commander, feared ruler, and a man slowly being devoured by the very power he wielded. Latusa had built his empire on discipline, conquest, and fear. But fear, once sown, grows wild. Suspicion crept into his ranks. His own lieutenants, once loyal, grew restless under his iron rule. The war still raged outside, but inside Ibadan, a new storm was gathering. According to legend, what happened next marked the beginning of the end for Ibadan's dominance. It all came to a head in 1885. The once unshakable Are Latusa stood on the edge of a storm he could no longer command. A fierce disagreement with his trusted commander, Balogun Ozungbekun, sparked by a dispute over a single slave, trivial to some but deeply symbolic, was more than a mere quarrel. It was a crack in the foundation of his power. Whispers echoed through the palace halls. Loyalty wavered. The eyes of his warriors no longer held the same fire of obedience. The long, dragging war had drained them all, but it had emptied Latusa most of all. Faced with the unbearable weight of dwindling support and the possibility of being undone by betrayal or rebellion, he made a final, irreversible choice. In solitude, proud and unyielding even in despair, Are Latusa took his own life.